These are the 4 most amazing psychological tricks and life hacks so that you can start to enjoy your life more, have a better experience, and make a bigger impact on all the people around you. Number 1, if you want others to open up to you or like you, make them the most important thing in the world. In psychology, this is referred to as active listening. All you need to do is give your entire attention to them when they talk. There are various ways you can implement this. You could think that you have to give an hour-long presentation on what they talked about the next day. You could act like they have something to share that will give you $1 million. Doing so will make sure you pay full attention to what they say. Now, the difference might seem minuscule in your eyes, but the subconscious effect it has is massive. People will feel it and will love talking to you because you make them feel like they matter, which is one of the most sought after feelings in the world. Try going an entire day with paying full attention to everyone and get their responses the next day. You will be surprised by the difference it made for them. Number 2, you see what you think about. Let's use an example for this. A driver who believes that the stereotype that women are bad drivers will see both bad drivers that are men and women, and good drivers that are men and women too. But even though he sees about an equal amount of each, he will only consciously be aware of the bad female drivers and the good male drivers. This is a security mechanism in our brain to confirm that we are right and to boost our little soft ego. The interesting part comes in when you realize that this works for everything. When we think about positive things, how great the world is, and how amazing our life is, we see more proof of it in the real world. What might be considered normal will be considered great in this point of view. The same way, when we think about how bad everything is and how life is going against us and nothing's working, we see normal events as being negative and small problems as being gigantic. The best way to use this bias to our advantage is to think about how we want the world to look like. Because we'll find proof for everything we look for, it's up to us to decide how we want to see the world. If we don't do this, someone else will decide for us. Using this effectively can lead to a happier life filled with gratitude and amazement, but it does take practice and effort, and you can't just fall into default thinking and just going with the flow in your standard emotions. Speaking of emotions, the third one is that motion creates emotion. It is a common research subject in psychology and has been studied in many different aspects. The most popular one is how to feel more confident. Studies in this area have shown that the more space you take up, the more confident you feel. What's even more amazing than these findings is the fact that this works with every emotion. Whenever you want to be happy, excited, confident, sexy, loving, or whatever else, just think about what a person with those qualities would do. Imagine that person in the same situation. How would they act? What would they say? What would they think? How would they hold their body? And what kind of body language would they be portraying? Ask yourself these questions and then simply copy that person in your head. Depending on how you move and behave, your brain will activate the areas in your brain corresponding to the emotion, and you will portray and release the corresponding hormones to make you feel that way. Now, the 4th psychological hack is reality testing. A lot of our daily problems arise from us overthinking. We make the problems bigger or smaller than they actually are and need the help of these strategies to actually see reality. Without this, we cannot solve the problem because we either get too scared to try or think the problem isn't that big and do not think it's worth solving. In reality testing, psychotherapists encourage clients to look at their problems objectively and to backtrack to the negative thoughts and analyze them. Some common ways we tend to do this are overgeneralization, comparing ourselves to others, blaming others, and thinking in all or nothing. Overgeneralization is thinking that one negative event will lead to more and more negative events. This is something we cannot really know, but we generalize the meaning of what happens even though we have no idea. Instead, think that this is one event, period, full stop, that's it. It is just one event, and the next event is completely separate from it, even though in your experience that may not have been the case. If you think this way, you will go into more situations feeling empowered, and you'll believe in your ability to still change the events instead of thinking that it's just a domino effect and that now your day is ruined and nothing's going to work out for you. Then there's comparing ourselves to others. This is something most of us will do on a daily basis, either consciously or unconsciously, but we start to look at other people's achievements and just kind of assume that they're putting in the same level of effort as us. Even though they might have worked 18 hours a day every day for the last year, crying and sweating to get to where they are today, we might assume that they're further ahead because they got a lucky break. Instead of actually looking at what they've done to get to where they are, we just see where they are and compare ourselves against the end result versus the actual effort or maybe some of the strategies that they're using to get there. Now, there's no point comparing ourselves to others constantly. Unless we actually lived through their life, we have no idea what it took for them to get there. And even if they tell us, they will have skewed perception and we will receive it through our point of view, which also skews the reality of it. Instead of comparing yourself to others around you, compare yourself to how you were a month or a year ago. The only real reference point you have is a past self. And although you can learn from others, you don't want to get caught up in constantly looking at them as a comparison. Then we have blaming others. We wish to make life easy on ourselves. And what's easier than saying that we're not at fault for anything that happened? It's so easy to push the fault onto other people or onto life itself because they can't defend themselves and the universe isn't going to smack you in the face when you say that everything just happens to you and you don't have any control. When we blame other people for our misfortune, therapists will intervene and start a paradigm shift with the client. They encourage clients to take responsibility for everything for a while. Obviously, this can lead to the other extreme, but the point is to first get out of the habit of blaming others. When we take responsibility ourselves, it's more likely that we will act to correct our problems. Finally, there's the thinking an all-in or nothing bias. To overcome this, you should be very precise in what you say. This is also how a lot of fights start with couples. Phrases like, "you always do this," or "you never do that," lead to a skewed perception of reality. Instead, think about how often something occurred in the past week or month. Count the exact number. This will remove the extremist thinking, getting you closer to the solution of the problem. I hope that you enjoyed this video and that these psychological hacks, these tricks, help you in your life and that you actually apply them. And be sure to drop it in the comments down below. Which hack was your favorite? Which one are you actually going to use? If this video has helped you and you'd like to take it to the next level, click the video that's popping up on the screen right now for an opportunity to work with me one-on-one. Yeah, you can actually have me as your personal coach. Just click that video that's popping up on the screen.